So I'm doing a normal anime DVD collection update today because there's some anime to go through the remainder of the year. Going through this stuff first, you can see I got the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Technically, while these say Blu-ray DVD and this says 2-disc Blu-ray, this one actually also comes with a DVD copy. Going through here, my friend got me Star Trek Deep Space Nine Seasons 1 and 2 on DVD, which is good. I've never really seen much of that. I've got the Pirates of Dark Water from him, and then Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade. It's our non-anime stuff. This is our anime stuff here. It's not a whole lot of stuff. Let's begin with this one on top. This is the Blu-ray version of Venus Wars, which, of course, I don't know if I gave you a good chance to see the front. It's interesting because this was closed, but this is a Discotheque release. Yeah, that's Discotheque and Eastern Star. Now, I should already have this on DVD, and I think there was probably a DVD release to go with it, but nothing complicated this time. Let's hold on to that for the next thing. Straightforward. I don't know much about the movie itself, though. Next up, we've got Ladies vs. Butlers on Blu-ray, which this arrived from Right Stuff before it did from Amazon, which is about expected. It's possible Amazon could have its stock, but wouldn't ship it. Not until a street date, I guess. And the DVD version did ship earlier, so this means we have both. And I think I've been waiting specifically for this Blu-ray version to watch it because the DVD version is a DVD burn on demand, whereas this one, I don't know that they can do the same thing for Blu-ray. I mean, there are runnable Blu-ray discs, but that looks pressed. That's 2 discs. The same 2 characters on the front, who I'm guessing are important. You can see me very clearly reflected in that. Whereas, you know, like, I'm used to seeing a mix of characters, so I don't know who's who. What can we find out from here? As you can see, it's English dubbed. I think that was the same with the DVD versions. Region A only. Important to note. And then we got Rokka, which was the first of these to ship, but the last of these to arrive. This shipped December 12th, and then just kind of didn't arrive until yesterday. So that's craziness of holidays, I guess. Let's see. So this piece of paper, I'm seeing where it says for DVD it's region 1. Blu-ray, I'm not seeing any regions. Maybe it's free. It's compact disc. Here's the back. I wonder if this looks familiar. Okay, we've got that there. We've got goodies on the inside. I'm tempted to peek at that, but I'll be honest. I started this up thinking, yeah, starting up video, but I guess I didn't tell the camera. I didn't recharge the camera last time. Very strange. Interesting. 4 episodes. CD. And it looks like this is actually an invertible cover. Here we got our Blu-ray disc. Here's the DVD. This peanut is there in order to give it structural integrity and stickiness issues, I guess. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing, whether or not I'm going to keep that in there or not as well. There's OST1. So what's the difference between the covers? That's white. That's black. So that could be the difference. I'm not sure. just gonna slide this back in. Something tells me it actually slides in on this side. So if I get this in first, that part's easy, then I can take this, get it in there, close it all the way. Let's not stop there. My copy of Rokka came with these. There may be more to these on the inside, but sticking with the stuff on the outside. And then this shipped, which I think is from it's the Little Witch Academia 2 Kickstarter, and it's mostly arts of a lot of backgrounds. Very pretty. I'm sure some people really, really, really wanted it. I think it's really cool to have it, but the Blu-ray was the most important thing, the DVD and Blu-ray. Anyways, that's this week's and these last 2 weeks' anime DVD collection updates. Not big, but ends the year.
So even though it's been 2 weeks, there hasn't been a whole lot of stuff watched. Well, let's begin. The Attack on Titan OVA. It was actually good. I know from the story in the manga, I wasn't quite sure how they would make an entire episode out of it. And I'm not sure if they mixed official content in there or not, but I thought it was done pretty well. If you haven't seen it yet, now technically by the OVA, I mean only the first episode of the OVA, because the OVA is kind of two separate things. There's a total of 3 episodes in it, but the last 2 things are probably implemented from a different manga, a side manga source, which it would still be a canon, I think, but isn't as relevant to the stuff we've been watching now. Whereas the first one was, of course, in the manga volumes I got, so it's a side story that contains important information that I don't think you necessarily need it, but it's a bit more relevant than it might at first glance seem. So it's something I suggest watching if you have a chance. If you have only watched the first season, haven't read any of the manga, want to watch it, you can watch it because anything it reveals is definitely stuff that is contained within the manga volumes that were implemented into the anime episodes that we have right now. In other words, it's all fair game. It's the same thing with One Piece, and I guess I can go on to One Piece next. So, I watched the latest release of One Piece and One Piece Strong World, and this is the sort of thing I'm talking about, where the timing for the movies is one where I try to make sure I watch it in between the dates of the episodes with which the movie aired. Because anything there would have been fair game. If I was in Japan watching movies, etc. Of course, this is very different from One Piece because the series itself actually has a couple of episodes that lead into the movie. It's kind of an abrupt side story, but not exactly. They try and make it kind of relevant to the stuff going on within this portion of the story, I suppose, and it works okay in that regard. But I have to admit, I've been liking what the series has been doing more than what Strong World did, mostly because when you watch One Piece long term, the first episode does a really good job of just kind of giving you a good feeling for the core, and it doesn't really deviate from that a whole lot. Naruto is kind of not like that. You know, you kind of watch the first episode and you like it. There's lots of enjoyable stuff about the first beginning of Naruto, but it's not necessarily contained within the idea of the first episode, I think. So that's an interesting difference between the two, but I mention that because, yeah, I was saying One Piece, one of the feelings you get is just this building up of the world. It feels stronger in One Piece than it does in other stuff. I think Naruto does some stuff to kind of try to do that. But, Naruto's always felt kind of not quite right. Whereas, I guess with One Piece, there's been a kind of similar, not quite right, but that's because they're not trying to convince us that every solution is necessarily the best one, and it's definitely one of I don't know, our main characters go place to place and they really help people out and something. But there's that building up of the world stuff, and this one, so far, this story arc has definitely felt like it's had the most payoff in terms of waiting, and I'd really have liked to see more of it, but you know, they built up to Strong World, and Strong World was okay. The build up to Strong World was okay, and Strong World was okay. He was an interesting bad guy, I guess. But it definitely felt like a distraction, which is actually very different from a lot of the other One Piece distractions, where it's like, when you watch what Funimation calls Season 2, which I'm pretty sure probably comprises 2 or 3 seasons from the Japanese releases point of view, you kind of don't mind too much. No, what was I saying? I was saying, while there are kind of side stories that happen along the way, they're also kind of relevant to the entire flow of things. So even though you kind of know where our main characters are trying to go, even if they're encountering things along the way, you kind of feel like it's still things you encounter along the way. Whereas Strong World was definitely a slightly more Bleach-like distraction. Actually, I was just thinking that I did have one issue that I had with Strong World, and that's it's a little weak in the Nico Robin front. Like, I don't know. It's very weird because, you know, they play around with different outfits for all the characters, and that's Nico Robin there. I don't know how all this shows up on the camera, but you don't have to look too closely. She just looks weird. Like, she had an air of maturity to her in the series, and that even if she was still feeling young, she just felt like she had seen a lot of the world, whereas here she just kind of feels like a weird schoolgirl on a field trip sort of thing. It's strange. Oh well. So, I definitely want to see the next volume. I do believe that the next volume of One Piece comes out next month, although I've admittedly put off pre-ordering stuff. I think I'm doing things a little backwards because Chaika the Copper Princess is, I guess, the next thing I'm talking about, and really I should be talking about the anime I had started talking about last time, but I'll begin with this. This is only the first season. There's another season. It's not exactly an apt comparison, but it's interesting that it's somewhat reminiscent of Scrapped Princess. And some of it is the setup of our main group of 3 characters there-ish, but there's less. People are definitely out to get her because she's a prophesied to destroy the world, and more because, you know, she's potentially dangerous or whatnot. I don't want to go into too much detail there. It's a expectable but interesting reveal, I guess. Content-wise, I thought it was okay. It's definitely lacking in resolution, but actually, if on the note of resolution, I'm mostly just worried that even the second season won't give us much in the way of resolution. It could have been designed to be bigger than whatever's been out on anime. All I know is there's this season. I think another season did air, and so it would probably come out eventually. Hence why this one talked about it being a season 1 release. But I don't know, and that's a definite contrast to Scrap Princess. Whereas this one, you know, if they really wanted to, they could make this one run on years and years and years and years in the show. Whereas Scrap Princess kind of gave a plot where it's like, she's the day of prophecy would be close, and Scrap Princess needs to be scrapped. Blah 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 blah. So there's a definite sense of time constraint there, and really, I'm not sure if it makes sense to make the comparison other than I think Bones did both of them, and they're both medieval societies, which feel like they have a little bit of a technological undercurrent, but this one explains it more as magic technology. I don't know. It was enjoyable. It's just too bad there's not more of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything to comment on regarding the English dub, and I don't know. I guess I can see why it's definitely not up in the 8s, because it's rated, I think it's in the 7s on my anime list, and that's probably about right. It's neat, but it also is kind of... It's hard to say that there's anything to grasp onto and say, okay, I really want to see what happens here. There's just more like threads that you're kind of curious about, I guess. Alright, and now let's get back to Invaders of the Rokujoma, which, when I read up on it, Rokujoma is, I think, the standard 6 mat layout of a Japanese small room, I guess. Apartment sort of thing. So, the basic idea, I already said that it was about this amusingly chaotic situation where there were all these characters and they were vying for control of the room and they were fighting wars with each other in the form of simple little games. I can understand why it's not... Well, what was the rating? I don't remember. It was mostly okay, I guess. I talked about how the first couple episodes were actually pretty good. That at least I really, really enjoyed the kind of chaos and how it wasn't thinking that it needed to fall into certain stereotypes. It was just like the show seemed aware of them, and that it's like, we need to play around with them and not follow them. Well, I think if there's any point where it definitely turned down, was it more than one swimsuit episode? There was the swimsuit episode. I don't know. It's been long enough since I saw this. I think there were 2 swimsuit episodes, but at least the first one, it suddenly decided to play the harem tropes mostly straight, and it didn't make much sense. It was like, okay, even if some of the characters are kind of interested in him, they're not like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be the sexiest person ever, and if he doesn't pretend to notice me, then I'm going to pretend to hate him and pretend to... It's stupid drama. I kind of felt like maybe the swimsuity stuff was thrown in there because that's what the audience would expect, I guess. And honestly, it's kind of hard to appreciate that because, I don't know. There's an anime called Maburaho. Not to be confused with Maharaba, which kind of has 2 consonants swapped. But I think in that one, there was kind of this scene where it's like, because the hottest girls in school were kind of interested in him, all the guys in the class were like flicking pencil lead at him, and that always struck me as stupid. It's like, okay, yeah, you can be jealous, but what does doing that do? That just makes you look petty, pathetic, and definitely makes it seem like you would be a horrible choice for a person to be interested in. And so it's like, I can't help but feel like there's a lot of anime that kind of go that way. And I'm trying to remember if this one was where as well. You know, that thing where it's like, okay, so because these girls like him, we the anime have to make sure bad things happen to them so that all of our petty, jealous, pathetic watchers can do it. And I don't understand why it even needs to. Maybe I'm the wrong kind of audience, but I don't know. I'd like to think not, but yeah. So, let's see, where did it go after that? I think the general stories kind of merged and melded a bit and had some relevance to each other. I think it did not completely finish everything, but there's bits and pieces you can put together and guess about, I think. But it wasn't completely complete. It did make sure there were major story arcs for each of the female characters, at least the ones here. The ones who would have weird and interesting story arcs, I guess. And so, it's okay. It started out great, kind of stumbled a bit, but made itself stay kind of relevant, I think. And it's like, that one episode was where it was really unnecessarily, I don't know. But Yeah. So this has been my main target for my weekend. It's why I have not watched a whole lot of anime beyond what y'all have seen there. I mean, I think most of that I had already watched when I did the FAQ last week. But this is Dragon Warrior 7, also known as Dragon Quest 7. Probably originally Dragon Quest 7 and known as Dragon Warrior 7 until whatever. Anyways, this has been my goal to play through because I definitely touched it. I was always curious about where it went, but the previous 2 times I played it, I got stuck. Now, my progress, it's hard to say if it's been good or not, but I'm definitely making the right kind of progress. My first point where I was stuck, that had to do with, I think I was playing, this was a long time ago, and I know I was playing on an emulator. I was using save states, and I think I was underleveled for your first tricky boss. And for those of you who know the game and play, that would have been Death Pal. And I think my problem there is that all my save states were just too close to the boss to really go out, level up, or want to spend time doing that, or anything like that. So that was my first stuck point. My second one, the last time I tried it, I'm there now. And I guess I don't want to talk too much about it in case you've never played it and you want to play it and you want to be surprised by what happens, but I'm there right now. And so the only question is, can I take on this boss after this weird tweak the game has done to my party? And it's hard to remember how I felt stuck back then, because I know I just did 5 hours of grinding in order to get all the gold to buy all the stuff I wanted to buy there. Just because I've been playing Paranoid because I knew I got stuck before, and maybe it's not going to help. It's hard to say. Maybe it's because this is the area where you have your first battle that you're supposed to lose. If it's your only battle you're supposed to lose, then it's your only one. And maybe I wanted to make sure I could win that battle. And maybe that would have taken a lot more effort than I would have thought. Or, again, it could be possible that these bosses are really just tough and I need to do them a couple times, or maybe read up on some strategies for how to take them on. Hopefully I haven't... Well, technically I'm not stuck, but I'd rather not do that 5 hours of grinding again. If I did, I'd probably try to find a way to grind at the casino instead, even though I wasn't thinking I would need to, but I'm not sure what all that would actually get me. So basically my playing of Dragon Quest 7 has been very grindy and very slow, but I've definitely revisited a lot of stuff and I barely remembered most of this. So it probably is a good timing to play through it again, and if what happened last time was just that I needed to have spent these 5 hours grinding, and I hadn't spent those 5 hours grinding, and I was tired of grinding back then I should be good, assuming I can get past this part, because everything beyond here is completely new to me. This also explains why I had absolutely no idea what this one system people talked about for the game was, because this is leading up to the introduction of that system, which means I literally never played with it, never really had a chance to think about how I would be using it, but now I get to, well, assuming I can get unstuck past this part, I'll get to use it. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's been kind of slow. I've been video capturing all my playing of it. I'm not planning to upload it to YouTube because we're talking about it taking even 30 hours to get as far as I have been, and who wants to watch me spend 3 hours grinding against creatures? Yeah, that doesn't sound very exciting. So these might not get uploaded on YouTube, or maybe I'd only upload choice sections or something. But even the stuff where I'm not grinding with monsters, there's still hunting around every nook and corner and cranny of buildings and finding all the hidden stuff. Something you really need to do because you're finding important items by doing that. Game progression items in particular. But even without that, you know, it's still kind of neat to talk to the various NPCs and see how their dialogue changes. It's just slow and cumbersome and tedious or something like that. So I don't think the non-grinding parts would even be all that exciting. I've also been playing Nekopara. I was kind of curious. Somebody mentioned it on... I think some cat guy person mentioned it on the anime subreddit on Reddit. And I read it. Very curious. Obviously, Steam's winter sale stuff is happening, so they were basically nothing. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get those and everything on my wish list, and that'll just be $35. Yeah, that's a pretty usual Steam sort of thing. So I went ahead and do that. I've been playing it, and I'm not sure what to think about it. It's interesting because they make the characters animated and completely, all the female characters are completely voice acted. So there's a feeling of some depth to the characters there, but hard to say if I care about the dialogue. The story seems to be okay. Probably make an okay slice of life if it was made into an anime, I guess. Although it'd probably be a harem-y slice of lifey sort of thing. So, at least as far as I've gotten, that's what it seems like. But yes, some of the dialogues, I don't know. It's kind of in a competition between Dragon Quest VII for kind of obviousness, I guess. It's like I'm not sure if it really feels like the characters would be saying that so much as somebody who was writing the character would have that character say that or something. I don't know. And I've not seen any choices yet, so I'm wondering if this is an actual dialogue or if it's just not really a game, but rather just something you watch as it goes through, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I mean, it's cheap, and I'm very curious, and the characters' animations are interesting. I say interesting because, for the most part, it's kind of nice, but it can be really creepy when it has them walk up to you. I mean, it's not always there, so I don't know exactly what about it is, but it sends a chill up my spine and makes me want to crawl underneath the table or something like that. And it's kind of funny because that's also what some of Alien Isolation does. Now, I haven't been playing that. I've been watching a couple people play. I think I watched Soviet Wombats sections of stuff, and that was definitely fun because maybe this is just the way he edited it, but it definitely kind of felt like a sanity nosediving sort of thing. But to get the more in-depth play, I've been watching Markiplier, which is kind of an issue because he doesn't pay enough attention to the game. But I don't know. It's weird watching Alien Isolation and pausing that and playing some cat girls who want to help you and then pausing that and going back to Alien Isolation. I don't know why I'm doing that to myself. Let's see, as I'm ending this video, I'm sure y'all are wondering about the apartment tour thing that I'm going to be doing at the end of the year, and I decided that since I had 3 anime things to update today, I'd do a normal anime DVD collection update today. That gives me a chance to see if there's anything I want to straighten up here before I record the apartment tour. I guess there's one thing I could probably look into, but I guess my plan then is to work on it on Thursday, maybe work on preparing for it tomorrow, and so that means tonight I can do laundry or something like that. So that's definitely not slipping my mind, but we'll have to see what the exact timing for that is. And I guess I won't talk about the stuff coming out next month because I'll probably have to be doing that these next couple of nights anyways, but that has to happen during the downtime between Dragon Warrior 7. I'm going to continue making progress on that, I guess. So, I guess that's the plan. So, y'all know, and I've definitely seen that there's been a ton of comments on videos and whatnot, and I think the most important one I saw was definitely trying to compile a list of all the NISA Premium Edition stuff. And maybe that'll get to happen tonight. I got to get this video on the laptop and pick up Chipotle for dinner and all that good stuff. So hopefully y'all had a nice Christmas, and y'all will have a nice New Year, and whatever other holidays may be happening at the time here. So have a nice week.